Hello and welcome to this new video. In the previous video, we implemented the logic to join the lobby session. Also, we discovered how to enable the listening of connection to the map. And we made the client travel to the lobby of the host. Today, we discover and implement the notification triggered by the OSS when we are in a lobby type session. You must check if your target OSS supports the notifications for the lobby or not. In our case, EOS supports them. Lobby session notifications are triggered by the OSS for players who are members of the session when there is a change in the lobby participants. For example, when a player leaves, joins, or is removed from session. Go to your game instance, search for session. You will see in the category Easy OSS, under Game Instance, Event, the events that are triggered by the OSS concerning the sessions. Assign the event on Event Notification Session Received. This bind provides you with an enum that represents the type of notification, the session name that is concerned by this notification, the user ID that represents the participant who has undergone a change. The notification parameter is an enum of 3 possible values: join, left, and removed. To do a quick test, I want to display the notification type on the screen when this event is triggered. I want to create a session for player 1 and then join it from players 2 and 3. Here, the host received a join type notification because a new player has just joined the session. I want to join the session now from player 3. We see that player 2 has not received the notification, and that player 1 who is the host has received it. So the notifications are triggered for the host only. This is because we have one more step to do once the player has joined the session, which is called player registration in session. On the other hand, if player 3 leaves the lobby, player 2 receives a notification. So it is a malfunction on the EOS side and not on the plugin side, so it depends on the target OSS and how it manages the notifications. Normally, we are not supposed to do the player's registrations in the session when we use the lobby sessions of EOS, because EOS should do it automatically for us. But still, we will do this process ourselves. That way we are sure that each time the members of the session are modified, all the players execute the registration or unregistration process. The player registration process is important because it allows you to use other features of the plugin later. For example, the node is OSS player in session does not return the correct result if the player has not registered all members of the session. To register a player in the session, call the task register player in OSS session. The task takes as parameter the session name, the target user ID to register, and a boolean representing if this player joined the session by invite or not. You can leave it unchecked. To register multiple players in the session, use the task register players in OSS session. This task takes as parameters a list of player IDs. We can do the registration and the unregistration when we receive a notification. But in this case, it will be done only for the player who received the notification. To use a reliable solution, we will do them for each player. The solution consists of registering players for each player member of the session. For this, we do not want to do it on the game mode, because it is dedicated to the host only. On the other hand, we will do them in the player controller which runs on the client and the server. To start, go to the Lobby Player Controller interface, then create a new function and name it Register Players in Session. This function takes as parameters the session name and the list of IDs of the players to register for each member. Once finished, go back to your player controller and implement the interface function. The registration must be done on the owning client. To do this, create a custom event, then set its replication to run on owning client and then make it reliable. Call the task register players in OSS session, then connect the corresponding pins. Display an error message if the registration fails. Now call the event we just added. Return to game mode. This is where we must call registration in the player controller when a player joins or leaves the lobby. Create a new function and name it f_register players in session. It is in this function that we will retrieve the list of players' IDs and then call each member player controller to register the list of players. We only proceed if the session is valid. To get the list of player IDs, we can loop through the player cards variable and then add each player ID to the list. Create a local variable to this function, which will be a list of strings representing the list of player IDs. From each player's player card, add their user ID to the list. Once the list is filled, loop through the list of player controllers in game mode, then call the interface function that registers the players for each controller. This way all lobby members register the list of players. This also includes the host. Our function is now ready. We have to call it once the session is created. Then also call it each time a player joins the lobby. Go to the Check for Controller's Readiness function. Then call the function after the update of the Member Settings function. With this implementation, every time a player joins the lobby, all lobby members register the new player list. This also includes the player who just joined the lobby. Run a test to verify the implementation. As you see, when the host creates the session, the register process has been executed well. Currently, the list of players contains only one player who is the host. Now try to join the session from player 2. And voila! The registration has been executed for players 1 and 2. The registered list is a list of both players. Do the same for player 3, you should have the same result, now with a list of 3 players. And voila! Now player 2 receives the notification, because he is registered in the session. And there you have it, the registration system works as expected, which also allows us to activate notifications for all players. Return to your game mode. You can now take advantage of notifications to display a UI notification in your game, for example. What I want to do now is to unregister the player if the notification is of type left or removed. To unregister a player, call the easy OSS task named Unregister Player from OSS session. If the notification is of type joined, I will register the player, even if the game mode does it. Like that, we will have a double check for the registration. I want to do the registration only if the player is not in OSS session. I can't collapse the code into a function, because the latent node can't be moved into a function. I want to move the code into a custom event and then call that event from the delegate. I now want to display a message if the player unregister process works. Then I run a test. Now close the game for player 2. You will see the message player unregistered displayed for player 1. I don't want to trust the delegate only to unregister players. So, as we did for the register process on the player controller side, I want to do the same thing for the unregister process. In this case, we proceed to the unregister process when a player leaves the lobby, so from the post-logout event of the game mode. Go to the player controller interface. Then add a new function and name it Unregister Player from Session. This function takes as parameters the player ID to unregister and the session name. Go back to your player controller and implement the added function. Same as the register process, add a custom event that runs on the client. Then in this event call the task Unregister Player from OSS session. Return to game mode, then add a function and name it F_unregister player from session. This function must take as input the controller of the player leaving the lobby. Again, we don't want to proceed if the session is not valid. From the player cards variable, we want to get the player ID. Once finished, we will call this function in our post logout event. Make sure to place it before updating the player cards. Run a test to verify the implementation. Try closing Player 2 window now to check that post logout works fine. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.